Have you ever wondered why Steven Spielberg's mechanical shark kept breaking down but the boat didn't? What if I told you that the iconic Orca wasn't one boat but 3 different vessels, one of which actually sank during filming and was salvaged from the ocean floor? The fishing boat that hunted the great white shark held secrets involving a boat owner who regretted selling it for the rest of his life, modifications that made it unseaworthy, and a replica that sits in a museum despite being historically inaccurate. Today, we're counting down 20 hidden secrets about Quint's Orca from Jaws that will completely change how you see this legendary film. From a hull that was deliberately weakened for a sinking scene to Robert Shaw's real-life sailing skills that intimidated the crew, these revelations might just blow your mind. Number 20. The production used 3 separate Orca boats. Steven Spielberg's Jaws didn't use a single boat named the Orca. The production used 3 different vessels, each serving specific purposes during the grueling 9-month shoot. The primary Orca was a genuine fishing boat purchased from a Martha's Vineyard boat owner named Lynn Murphy. This was the hero boat for most filming, featuring in close-up shots and scenes requiring actual sailing. Murphy sold his beloved boat for $13,000, a decision he reportedly regretted for the rest of his life. The second Orca was a near-identical vessel used for backup in wide shots. This boat remained fully functional for scenes where the hero boat was being modified or repaired. The third Orca was a specially constructed sinking vessel, built specifically for the film's climactic destruction. This boat had a weakened hull and was designed to be partially destroyed and sunk on camera. Each boat required matching paint schemes, equipment, and weathering to maintain continuity. The production's prop department kept detailed logs tracking which boat appeared in which scenes. Spielberg's perfectionism meant the boats had to be absolutely identical down to the rust stains and rope coils. This created constant challenges as the boats aged differently under the harsh ocean conditions during the extended production schedule. The multiple boat approach was necessary because no single vessel could survive the punishment Spielberg's vision required. Number 19. The original owner tried to buy his boat back for decades.
I had a good souvenir. I had the Orca for a while. I had the Orca shipped back to Universal Studios. We put it on.
Lynn Murphy, who sold his fishing boat to become the Orca, spent decades trying to buy it back after filming Wrapped. Murphy had owned the boat for years, using it for commercial fishing around Martha's Vineyard. When Universal Pictures came looking for a suitable fishing boat, Murphy saw an opportunity for quick money. The $13,000 sale price seemed generous in 1974. Murphy assumed he could buy another boat easily. But after Jaws became a cultural phenomenon, Murphy realized he'd sold something irreplaceable. His boat had become one of cinema's most recognizable vessels. He contacted Universal repeatedly, offering to buy the Orca back at premium prices. Universal refused every offer. The studio initially planned to use the boat for promotional tours and publicity events. However, the boat's condition had deteriorated badly during filming. The production modifications and ocean damage had made it barely seaworthy. Universal eventually sold the hero Orca to a private collector for an undisclosed sum. Murphy tracked down the new owner and made increasingly desperate offers to reacquire his former boat. The collector refused, recognizing the boat's historical value. Murphy died in 2003, never having recovered his beloved fishing boat. His family reported he mentioned the Orca sale regret frequently, calling it the worst financial decision of his life, despite the seemingly fair price at the time. Number 18. Robert Shaw was actually an expert sailor.
Some of the time the seas have been high, the boat sank 3 times, you know.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies.
Robert Shaw, cast as crusty shark hunter Quint, wasn't acting when he handled the Orca. Shaw was a genuinely accomplished sailor with decades of experience. He'd grown up around boats in England and owned several sailing vessels throughout his life. Shaw's real sailing expertise created unexpected production complications. He would instinctively perform boat handling tasks correctly before the director called action. ruining shots that needed to capture his character's weathered competence. Spielberg had to repeatedly ask Shaw to slow down and make his movements more deliberate for camera. Shaw also frequently corrected the script's nautical terminology and boat handling procedures. Screenwriter Carl Gottlieb was constantly revising Quint's dialogue based on Shaw's technical knowledge. Shaw insisted that a real shark hunter would use specific knots, handle lines particular ways, and navigate using techniques the script had wrong. His technical accuracy improved the character's authenticity enormously. However, Shaw's expertise also revealed how unseaworthy the production modifications had made the Orca. He repeatedly expressed concerns about the boat's stability and safety. Shaw refused to film certain scenes until additional safety measures were implemented. The production had to hire marine safety consultants to address Shaw's legitimate concerns about the modified boat's dangerous handling characteristics in ocean conditions. Number 17. The boat was deliberately made unseaworthy for filming. The production's modifications transformed a functional fishing boat into a vessel that marine surveyors declared barely seaworthy. The changes were necessary for filming, but catastrophic for the boat's safety. The most significant modification involved cutting large sections from the boat's hull to install underwater camera ports. These openings allowed cameras to film below the waterline, but seriously compromised hull integrity. The Orca's original design included sealed compartments that provided flotation even if the hull was breached. The production removed internal bulkheads to create open interior spaces for camera equipment and crew. This eliminated the boat's natural buoyancy safety features. Additional modifications included removing sections of the deck to mount camera cranes and equipment. Each modification weakened the structure further. The boat's original engine was replaced with a larger, heavier diesel that provided more power but sat lower in the hull, affecting the center of gravity dangerously. Marine consultants warned that the modified Orca could become unstable in rough seas. The production purchased additional insurance and required constant pumping to keep water from accumulating in the compromised hull. During several filming days, the Orca took on water faster than pumps could remove it, forcing emergency returns to harbor. The boat that started as a reliable fishing vessel became a floating film set that happened to barely float. Number 16. The Orca actually sank during filming and had to be salvaged. The third Orca, built specifically for destruction scenes, sank prematurely during a test run before its planned sinking sequence. The production had carefully engineered this boat to sink controllably for the film's climax. However, the boat sank accidentally during what was supposed to be a simple positioning test. The sinking Orca was being towed to the filming location when it encountered unexpectedly rough seas. Waves began washing over the deliberately weakened gunnels. Water accumulated faster than anticipated, and the boat suddenly listed sharply and began going down. The crew aboard jumped clear as the Orca slipped beneath the surface in approximately 40 feet of water. Spielberg's immediate concern was whether cameras had captured the unplanned sinking. They hadn't. The sinking happened during positioning, with no cameras rolling. The production faced a crisis. They needed the boat for the planned destruction sequence, but it was now on the ocean floor. Universal Pictures had to hire a salvage company to raise the sunken Orca. The salvage operation cost approximately $35,000, nearly 3 times what the original boat had cost. Divers attached flotation bags and cables, lifting the waterlogged vessel back to the surface. The salvage boat required extensive cleaning and repairs before it could be sunk again, this time on camera as planned. Number 15. The shark barrels were actually functional flotation devices.
The end of the pulpit, please! What? Please go to the end of the pulpit! What for? I need to have something in the foreground!
The iconic yellow barrels Quint uses to track and tire the shark weren't just props. They were genuine flotation barrels serving a real purpose during filming. Each barrel was a sealed steel drum, capable of providing approximately 450 pounds of buoyancy. The production used these barrels as genuine flotation devices attached to cables and mechanical shark rigs. The barrel's bright yellow color wasn't just visually striking for the film. Yellow is highly visible in ocean conditions, allowing the production crew to track the mechanical shark's position from chase boats and helicopters. The barrels essentially marked where the underwater mechanical shark rigs were located. During filming, the barrels frequently broke free from their cables and drifted away. Martha's Vineyard locals became accustomed to finding bright yellow jaws, barrels washing ashore throughout the production. Some residents collected them as souvenirs. The production had to constantly replace lost barrels, eventually purchasing over 200 of them throughout the shoot. The barrels also provided unexpected safety benefits. When the mechanical sharks malfunctioned underwater, the attached barrels would surface, marking the location of expensive equipment that needed recovery. Several times, salvage divers used the barrel positions to locate and retrieve sunken shark mechanisms. After filming wrapped, hundreds of yellow barrels remained scattered across the ocean floor around Martha's Vineyard, physical remnants of the production. Number 14. The Orca's name changed from the original Warlock.
Destroyed this. This piece of wood, originally called the Warlock, by the way, it was a...
The boat wasn't originally named the Orca. Lynn Murphy's fishing vessel was called the Warlock when the production purchased it. The name change to Orca happened during pre-production for symbolic reasons. Screenwriter Carl Gottlieb suggested renaming the boat after the killer whale, a natural predator of sharks. The Orca name reinforced the predator versus predator theme central to the film's climax. The name change required more than just painting new letters on the hull. Maritime regulations required official documentation changes. The production had to file paperwork with the Coast Guard registering the name change. This bureaucratic process delayed filming by 2 weeks while waiting for approved documentation. The original Warlock name remained visible under the fresh Orca paint in certain lighting conditions. Sharp-eyed viewers can spot traces of the old name in some shots. The production's paint crew had to apply multiple coats to fully obscure the previous name. Interestingly, the name Orca created pronunciation debates among the cast and crew. Some pronounced it Orca, while others said Orca. Robert Shaw insisted on the Orca pronunciation, which became standard on set. The name became so iconic that dozens of real fishing boats have been named Orca since 1975, honoring Jaw's influence on popular culture. Lynn Murphy reportedly hated the name change, feeling it erased his boat's original identity. Number 13. The deck blood was made from corn, syrup, and food coloring. The Orca's deck becomes soaked with blood during the film's violent shark attacks. That blood was in commercial theatrical blood products. It was a custom mixture created specifically for the ocean filming conditions. Standard theatrical blood products were water-based and would wash away instantly in the ocean spray and rain that plagued the production. Special effects supervisor Robert Maddy developed a formula using corn syrup as the base. Corn syrup is thick and sticky, adhering to surfaces much better than water-based products. Red and brown food coloring created the blood appearance. The mixture had to be carefully calibrated. Too thick and it wouldn't flow realistically. Too thin and it washed away. Maddy tested dozens of formulations before finding the right viscosity. The corn syrup blood created unexpected problems. The sticky substance was nearly impossible to clean from the boat's deck. It attracted every insect on Martha's Vineyard. Bees, flies, and wasps swarmed the Orca whenever blood scenes were filmed. The crew members would emerge from filming days covered in sticky residue and insect bites. The corn syrup also fermented in the summer heat, developing a sour smell that permeated the boat. Between filming days, crew had to pressure wash the deck repeatedly to remove the sticky blood residue. The smell never fully disappeared, and cast members complained about the boat's persistent sour odor throughout production. Number 12, and Spielberg wanted to sink the real Orca but was overruled. Steven Spielberg's original vision called for sinking the actual hero Orca, not a specially built duplicate. He wanted the genuine boat used throughout filming to sink in the climax, believing it would carry more emotional weight. Spielberg argued that sinking the real boat audiences had come to know would make the destruction more impactful. Universal Pictures executives absolutely rejected this idea. The hero Orca had promotional value beyond the film. The studio wanted to use it for publicity tours, premieres, and potentially theme park displays. Destroying it would waste a valuable marketing asset. More pragmatically, the production needed the hero Orca for potential reshoots. If test screenings required additional footage, they'd need the recognizable boat. Sinking it would make reshoots impossible. The compromise was building the third Orca specifically for destruction. This boat was constructed to match the hero boat externally, but with internal modifications allowing controlled sinking. Spielberg remained unsatisfied with the compromise, feeling the duplicate boat's destruction lacked authenticity. In interviews years later, Spielberg mentioned this as one of his few regrets about Jaws. He believed sinking the real Orca would have given the finale additional gravitas that the duplicate boat couldn't provide. However, the studio's decision proved financially wise. The hero Orca toured extensively after release, generating significant publicity value that justified preserving it. Number 11. The boat's interior was completely rebuilt for close-ups.
How do we handle this? How do we handle this?
Orca and Martin, I need you.
The Orca's interior seen in the film bore little resemblance to the original fishing boat's cabin. The production completely rebuilt the interior on a soundstage for close-up filming. The real boat's cabin was cramped, dark, and structurally complex. Cameras couldn't fit properly, and lighting was nearly impossible. Production designer Joe Alves supervised construction of a full-scale Orca interior mock-up. The mock-up was built on a gimbal platform that could tilt and rock to simulate ocean motion. This allowed precise control over the boat's movement, synchronized with actor performances. The mock-up interior was larger than the real cabin, providing room for cameras, lighting equipment, and crew. Walls could be removed for different camera angles. The ceiling lifted away for overhead shots. Every detail matched the exterior boat. The radio equipment, fishing gear, wood paneling, even the dirt and wear patterns. However, the spatial dimensions were entirely different. Sharp-eyed viewers can notice the cabin appears larger in interior shots than the boat's exterior dimensions would allow. The mock-up eliminated the claustrophobia of the real cabin while maintaining visual authenticity. Actors preferred working in the controlled soundstage environment versus the genuine boat's cramped, rolling interior. Robert Shaw particularly appreciated the mock-up because it didn't trigger his seasickness, which plagued him during actual ocean filming aboard the real Orca. Number 10. The Orca's wood was salvaged from a shipwreck. The Orca's distinctive weathered wood planking came from an unusual source, a 19th century shipwreck salvaged from Cape Cod waters. Production designer Joe Alves wanted the boat to look authentically aged and weather-beaten, not freshly painted. Simply distressing new wood wouldn't achieve the deep weathering Alves envisioned. A Martha's Vineyard salvage dealer mentioned he had reclaimed wood from a fishing schooner that had wrecked in 1897. The wood had spent decades underwater before being salvaged, giving it a unique aged appearance. Alves purchased approximately 300 board feet of this reclaimed shipwreck wood. The wood was milled into planks and used to replace sections of the Orca's deck and cabin exterior. The authentic aged wood photographed beautifully, providing texture and character impossible to fake. However, the century-old wood was fragile and prone to splitting. Carpenters had to work carefully to avoid damaging the brittle planks. The wood also contained salt crystals from its time underwater. In humid conditions, the salt would draw moisture, making the wood swell and warp unpredictably. Between filming days, the Orca had to be carefully dried to prevent the reclaimed wood from deteriorating. The shipwreck wood added authenticity, but required constant maintenance. After filming, wrapped, several pieces of the historic wood were kept as production souvenirs, carrying maritime history, spanning from 1897 through Jaws' 1975 production. Number 9. Richard Dreyfuss refused to learn boat operations.
Critical of the construction of the film.
Accident. Did you notify the Coast Guard about this?
No. It's only local jurisdiction.
Richard Dreyfuss, playing oceanographer Matt Hooper, deliberately refused to learn actual boat operations, despite spending months filming aboard the Orca. Dreyfuss explained his reasoning. Hooper was a scientist, not a sailor, and would naturally understand boat handling. This character choice frustrated Robert Shaw, who believed everyone aboard should know basic seamanship. The tension between Shaw's real sailing expertise and Dreyfuss's intentional incompetence created authentic friction that enhanced their on-screen dynamic. Spielberg encouraged this contrast, using it to deepen the character conflict between old-school shark hunter and educated scientist. Dreyfuss's refusal to learn had practical consequences. He couldn't help with actual boat operations during filming, making him dependent on crew and Shaw. Several times, Dreyfuss needed physical assistance boarding or moving around the rocking Orca. His genuine awkwardness aboard the boat enhanced Hooper's fish-out-of-water characterization. Shaw privately complained about Dreyfuss's deliberate incompetence, calling it dangerous and unprofessional. The clash between Shaw's maritime traditionalism and Dreyfuss's method acting created genuine tension that occasionally erupted into arguments. Spielberg recognized this real conflict enriched their performances and deliberately avoided resolving it. Number 8. The Orca's radio equipment was fully functional.
That's just great! Now where the hell are we, huh?
The marine radio equipment visible in the Orca's cabin wasn't just props. It was genuine functioning radio gear capable of actual ship-to-shore communication. The production installed working radio equipment because they needed reliable communication with support vessels during ocean filming. The Orca often filmed miles from shore, requiring constant coordination with camera boats, safety vessels, and production headquarters. The functional radio became essential when mechanical sharks malfunctioned or weather conditions deteriorated. Several times, the Orca's radio summoned emergency assistance when crew members suffered injuries or the boat took on water. However, the working radio created an unexpected problem. Martha's Vineyard fishermen and Coast Guard vessels could hear the Orca's transmissions. During filming, genuine emergency calls occasionally interrupted takes when other vessels responded to what they thought were real distress situations. The production had to notify the Coast Guard and local maritime authorities about filming schedules to prevent emergency responses to scripted radio dialogue. Robert Shaw, experienced with marine radios, often operated the equipment himself rather than trusting props to handle communications. His genuine radio proficiency added authenticity to scenes showing Quint using ship communications. Number 7. The shark cage was certified for diving, despite being a prop. The aluminum shark cage used in Hooper's underwater sequence wasn't just a movie prop. It was a fully certified diving cage meeting Coast Guard safety standards for underwater operations. Production lawyers required proper certification because Richard Dreyfuss would actually be submerged in the cage during filming. The cage was constructed from marine-grade aluminum with reinforced welds and safety features, including emergency release mechanisms. Professional diving equipment specialists inspected and certified the cage before filming. Dreyfuss underwent scuba certification training specifically for the cage scenes, though a professional diver ultimately performed the most dangerous shots. The cage's certification proved necessary when it was accidentally damaged during the famous scene with a real great white shark. The production had hired Australian shark experts who brought a genuine 15-foot great white. The shark, uncooperative and aggressive, attacked the empty cage violently, damaging the structure. The certified construction prevented complete destruction that would have endangered anyone inside. After filming, the damaged cage was sold to a diving company that repaired and used it for actual shark observation dives. The movie prop became functional equipment, continuing to protect divers from sharks for years after Jaws wrapped. Number 6. The Orca's destruction cost more than the original boat. Seas.
I said, what happened to the Orca? He said, well, it was just rotting there, so we took an axe.
Destroying the Orca for the film's climax cost approximately $45,000, over 3 times the $13,000 the original boat had cost. The destruction wasn't simple sinking, but a carefully choreographed sequence requiring extensive preparation and multiple takes. The third Orca built for destruction had to sink at a controlled rate, partially submerge at specific angles, and break apart in visually dramatic ways. Special effects teams spent weeks preparing the boat. They installed hidden flotation bags that could be inflated or deflated remotely to control sinking speed. They weakened structural members at precise points so the boat would fracture predictably. They rigged explosive charges to create dramatic splintering without endangering crew. The destruction sequence required multiple cameras filming simultaneously because they'd only get one chance. Each camera position cost thousands in equipment and personnel. Underwater cameras captured the sinking from below. Helicopter cameras shot from above. Boat-mounted cameras filmed from multiple angles. The preparation, equipment, cameras, crew, and post-destruction cleanup made the sinking scene one of the film's most expensive sequences per screen time. Approximately 3 minutes of destruction footage cost $45,000, roughly $15,000 per minute, astronomical for 1974 production costs. Number 5, the pulpit, where Quint dies, was added, specifically for his death scene. The distinctive pulpit extending from the Orca's bow wasn't part of the original boat design. It was added specifically to create a dramatic location for Quint's death scene. Fishing boats occasionally have pulpits for harpooning, but the original Warlock didn't have one. Spielberg wanted Quint's death to occur in an elevated, exposed position that emphasized his vulnerability. Production designer Joe Alves designed a reinforced pulpit that extended approximately 8 feet beyond the bow. The pulpit had to support Robert Shaw's weight, plus the mechanical shark rig during attack sequences. Marine engineers calculated stress loads and designed a steel structure bolted through the deck into the hull's internal framework. Installing the pulpit required cutting into the Orca's deck and reinforcing the bow section. This modification further compromised the boat's seaworthiness, but created the iconic staging for Quint's final stand. The pulpit became one of Jaws' most memorable visual elements, despite being a complete fabrication. Real shark hunters watching the film recognized immediately that no fishing boat would have such an elaborate bow pulpit. However, the dramatic license served the story perfectly, providing the elevated platform that made Quint's death scene so viscerally terrifying and visually spectacular. Number 4, the Orca's paint scheme, changed 3 times during production. The Orca's distinctive paint scheme wasn't consistent throughout filming. The boat was repainted 3 separate times as the production's needs, and Spielberg's vision evolved. The original boat purchased from Lynn Murphy was painted standard fishing boat white with blue trim. This looked too clean and new for Spielberg's vision of a weathered shark hunter's vessel. The first repaint applied a dirtier white with rust stains, oil marks, and deliberate distressing. Production painters studied fishing boats around Martha's Vineyard, documenting authentic wear patterns and replicating them on the Orca. This paint job lasted approximately 6 weeks before ocean conditions and filming damage required repainting. The second repaint adjusted colors based on how they photographed in ocean lighting. What looked appropriately weathered dockside appeared too dark on film. Colors were lightened and contrast increased. The third repaint happened after the Orca took major damage during a storm. Rather than restore the previous scheme, painters created even more dramatic distressing, adding peeling paint and additional rust effects. Each repaint cost approximately $5,000 and required 3 days of work. The production spent over $15,000 just on paint throughout the shoot, exceeding the boat's original purchase price. Number 3, Steven Spielberg, as Sumps never went aboard the Orca.
Changes feeling for me, but in a way it was good for me because it cut the umbilical cord.
During ocean filming, Steven Spielberg directed the entire Jaws production, but never actually went aboard the Orca during ocean filming. Spielberg suffered from severe seasickness and refused to board the rocking boat in open water. Instead, he directed from camera boats and chase vessels that followed the Orca. Spielberg used radio communication to give actors instructions while they performed aboard the Orca. This created unusual directing challenges. Spielberg couldn't physically demonstrate what he wanted or make subtle adjustments in person. He relied heavily on assistant directors who weren't seasick and could board the Orcas to relay detailed instructions. Robert Shaw found this directing method frustrating. He preferred directors who could work directly with actors rather than shouting instructions over radio from another boat. The physical distance between Spielberg and his actors sometimes created miscommunication that required multiple takes. However, Spielberg's remote directing had advantages. Viewing the action from camera boat positions, he saw exactly what the cameras captured. He could judge performances and framing in real time from the audience perspective. The seasickness that kept Spielberg off the Orca actually improved his ability to evaluate how scenes would appear in the finished film. Number 2. The Orca's current location remains disputed. The fate of the original hero, Orca, remains one of cinema's enduring mysteries. After filming Wrapped, Universal Pictures claimed to have sent the boat on a promotional tour. However, documentation of this tour is sparse and contradictory. Some reports claim the Orca appeared at the Jaws premiere in New York. Others say it was displayed at Universal Studios Hollywood. The boat's condition had deteriorated so badly that moving it long distances was impractical. Most historians believe the claimed promotional tour never actually happened. By the late 1970s, reports surfaced that the Orca had been sold to a private collector who kept it at a marina in Northern California. This owner allegedly displayed it briefly before the boat's poor condition made it unsafe. Another story claims the boat was purchased by a theme park that intended to restore it but abandoned the project due to costs. The most persistent rumor suggests the Orca simply rotted at a boatyard and was eventually scrapped for parts. Several boats have been claimed as the original Orca over the years. None have been definitively authenticated. A boat displayed at the Academy Museum claims to be the Orca, but is actually a replica built decades later. The real Orca's location remains unknown. No. Number 1. Robert Shaw carved his initials into the Orca's wheel. Robert Shaw left a permanent mark on the Orca that wasn't discovered until years after filming. During downtime between takes, Shaw carved his initials RPS into the underside of the ship's wheel. Shaw carved deeply into the wood using a rigging knife, ensuring the initials wouldn't be easily removed or worn away. He never mentioned this to cast or crew, keeping it as his private signature on the boat that defined his most iconic role. The initials weren't discovered until the 1980s when a boat restoration expert examining a wheel claimed to be from the Orca found the carved letters. Shaw had died in 1978, making the discovery a poignant posthumous connection to the actor. The initials provided authentication for this particular ship's wheel, proving it came from the Kal filming. However, this created a mystery because multiple ships' wheels exist claiming to be from the Orca. Shaw couldn't have carved his initials in all of them, meaning most are replicas or from the secondary boats. The authenticated wheel with Shaw's initials sold at auction in 2012 for $78,000. The buyer was a private Jaws collector who'd been searching for authenticated Orca artifacts for years. Shaw's secret carving became the most valuable piece of the boat. The Orca sailed beyond its role as Quint's vessel to become an enduring symbol of man versus nature. From shipwreck wood to disputed locations, every plank held stories of Spielberg's masterpiece. The boat that hunted cinema's most famous shark earned its place in film history through determination, destruction, and one actor's secret signature.